Hello, welcome back to TransMath 2 Virtual. Today we are doing Unit 2, Lesson 2. We're going to be talking about number lines and how we can use them to compare fractions, which is similar to what we did yesterday. So this should be kind of a refresher. We'll go a little more in depth today. So let's dive right in. When comparing fractions, we have to think about whether a fraction is far from zero or close to zero. We can use this when we are comparing 2/6 and 5/6. Sorry about that. We can see that 2/6 is rather close to zero. And 5/6 is close to 1, which is relatively far away from zero. So 5/6 is greater than 2/6. Notice that when the denominator, the bottom number of the fraction, stays the same and the numerator increases, the fractions get farther away from zero. Now let's look at a different pair of fractions. Which is greater, 1/3 or 1/2? 1/2 is farther from zero, so 1/2 is greater than 1/3. When the numerator stays the same and the denominator increases, the fractions get closer to zero. The fractions we've compared so far have either had the same denominator or the same numerator. Consider the fractions 6/8 and 5/6. These fractions have different numerators and different denominators. Each fraction's numerator is close to its denominator, so both fractions are close to 1. We'll use the number line again to determine which fraction is greater by seeing which one is closer to 1. Let's begin by showing each fraction on a number line. Because 5/6 is to the right of 6/8, 5/6 is closer to 1. So that means 5/6 is greater than 6/8. Next, we're going to move on to our problem-solving portion of the lesson. We're going to talk about some common mistakes that we normally make when we're comparing fractions using number lines. There are 2 rules that can get broken when we use number lines incorrectly to compare fractions. The first rule is that the distance between 0 and 1 must be the same on 2 number lines. The second rule is that fractional parts on each number line must be fair shares. Let's show how these rules could be broken by using the fractions 1/3 and 1/2. We already know that 1/3 is less than 1/2. Without using a number line, how do we know that 1/3 is less than 1/2? Let's look at one way these fractions could be compared incorrectly by using a number line. Here's a number line that shows 1/2. And here's a number line that shows 1/3. The number lines show that 1/3 is a little greater than 1/2. What makes this incorrect? Notice that the distance between 0 and 1 is not the same for each number line. The number line for thirds is longer, so it makes the fair share segments longer than they should be, giving us an incorrect representation. Let's look at another way fractions could be compared incorrectly using number lines. Here are number lines for 1/3 and 1/2. What makes these number lines incorrect? Look at the way the number line is partitioned. The segments are not fair shares. The segments on the number line for 1/2 are not fair shares because they are not the same length. The same is true for a segment in the number line 1/3. That's why 1/2 looks closer to 0 than 1/3. That's it for lesson 2 today, guys. Tune into Schoology to get your homework assignment.